An alien civilization returns to Earth once again, capturing humans and transforming them into ruthless alien warriors. Humanity faces a new threat as their loved ones are turned into enemies, and the future of the planet hangs by a thread. The film opens with a woman who is clearly on the brink of death. A group of anxious men rush her on a stretcher towards a doctor, urging Rose to hold on, but she passes away. They couldn't save her. In Los Angeles, a pickup truck pulls up to a police station. Inside, a man takes a swig from a bottle of alcohol, then steps out and heads into the station. As he enters, he greets his colleagues. One of the officers asks him when he'll be back on duty. At that moment, his friend Mark calls out to him. They embrace warmly, and Mark asks him to come with him. They enter one of the rooms where a young man sits in the interrogation room. This is his third offense. Mark's friend agrees to help him one last time, understanding how difficult things have been since Rose's death. After thanking him for the help, Mark takes his son from the station. As they step outside, Mark tells him to get in the car, but the engine won't start, so the young man decides to walk to the subway instead. On his way, he encounters a blind man begging for change. Soon, Mark catches up with him, and they both head into the subway. Once on the train, Mark talks with his son, but their conversation is abruptly interrupted when the train screeches to a halt in the middle of the tunnel. Mark goes to the conductor to find out what's happening, but she's just as clueless. There's no signal, no power, and no response on the radio. Right after their conversation, the train is violently shaken. Suddenly, the radio crackles to life, and a man's voice warns everyone not to look at the light. The train is jolted again, and the passengers realize they need to get out. Meanwhile, a police officer emerges from the bathroom and discovers the station is in chaos, and everyone is gone. But Officer Jones steps out of a nearby office, and together, they start investigating what's going on. Outside, the blind man hears strange noises. Confused, he asks the people around him where they're going. Carefully making their way through the tunnel, the group of passengers reaches the station. As they climb the stairs, the young man notices a strange blue light. Curious, he decides to check it out, followed by a woman from the group. The conductor sees them separating from the rest and calls out to Mark. Meanwhile, back at the police station, the man and woman arm themselves and cautiously begin searching the building. Trent and the woman approach the escalators, where the blue light is emanating. The moment they look at it, their faces change, eyes glazing over and veins bulging on their skin. As if hypnotized, they start ascending, but Mark grabs his son just in time, preventing him from being pulled up with the others. At the police station, the officer looks out the window and sees people being drawn upward into a column of blue light. Mark, his son, and the conductor urgently retreat into the tunnels. As they move, they shout warnings to the others, urging them to flee. The group decides to press forward, continuing on their way. Along the path, Mark spots a flashlight's beam and orders everyone to turn around. But as soon as they do, an unknown figure jumps out from the other side, aiming a weapon at them. Mark recognizes the man. It's his friend, Officer Garcia. Garcia explains that when he came out of the bathroom, the station was completely empty, and blue light was pouring in through the windows. He warns that it's not safe to go outside. The woman in the group then reveals that this tunnel is under construction toward the west side of the city, where they might find an exit. With a plan in place, they set off. Meanwhile, an alien ship hovers over the city. Reaching the exit, Mark cautiously peeks outside. He sees the enormous ship along with military fighter jets. The police officer tries to request an evacuation, but the request is denied. At that moment, Mark sees a nuclear missile heading straight for the alien vessel. In a panic, he orders everyone to run. A shockwave sweeps through the city, destroying everything in its path. The group scrambles to escape as the tunnel behind them collapses, burying part of the group. By some miracle, Mark, Garcia, Trent, the blind man named Sarge, and Jones survive, regaining their bearings in front of the collapsed tunnel. While discussing what kind of weapon the military used, an alien suddenly attacks Garcia. Trent once again falls under the influence of the blue light, but Mark manages to shoot the alien. To their shock, Garcia's voice comes from the alien's body, and they quickly free him. Seeing this, Jones concludes that the aliens need them alive. But before they can act, the alien revives, grabs the woman, and brutally rips out her brain. A fierce battle with the creature ensues. The survivors make their way to the surface, but the alien manages to grab Mark. Refusing to go down without a fight, Mark shoves a flare under the hood of a wrecked car and quickly escapes. The creature chases after him, but the car explodes, killing the alien. As the group looks around, they see that everything is shrouded in smoke. In the distance, they spot a damaged alien ship rapidly repairing itself right before their eyes. They decide to flee in the opposite direction from the chaos. However, Garcia, wounded and exhausted, can't go on any longer. He urges his friends to save themselves, promising to hold off the alien creature. But as a massive alien appears right in front of him, Garcia is unable to stop it, and the creature absorbs him into its body. Reaching the dock, Mark tries to contact the police to send a boat for them. In the distance, they see helicopters approaching and decide to run toward them. On the way, a gigantic monster suddenly leaps out, knocking down the helicopters and one by one, capturing everyone onto a flying alien vessel. Back on the alien ship, an alien emerges from the massive creature, revealing that it was just a combat machine. The alien approaches a control panel and sees on the screen a fleet of ships surrounding Earth. Meanwhile, Mark regains consciousness. He immediately starts searching for Trent and sees a horrifying creature that's methodically extracting people's brains one by one. Horrified, Mark continues his search and finds Audrey, followed by his son. As a tentacle inches toward Trent, Mark shoots at it, drawing the attention of the main alien, who then decides to separate the captives. Audrey, Sarge, and Trent are pulled upwards out of sight. Mark tries to hold onto his son, but a tentacle drags him away. With his gun, Mark manages to escape but falls into a body of water below. The current carries him outside, where he barely manages to cling to the ship's exterior. However, one of the tentacles injures his leg. Returning to the alien ship, Mark continues searching for his son and friends. In one of the compartments, he witnesses a tentacle implanting the extracted human brains into alien bodies. The sight is horrifying, but Mark presses on. Along the way, he enters another chamber filled with cocoons, each containing children who have been ripped from the wombs of women. Suddenly, an alien attacks him, but another alien unexpectedly intervenes, saving Mark. Trent regains consciousness, finding himself in a strange chamber, hanging upside down. Audrey is in the same position next to him. Mark, trying to understand why the alien helped him, follows it and asks for help in finding his son. But first, the alien cauterizes Mark's wound and gestures for him to follow. In one of the chambers, Mark spots a pregnant woman. She is in labor and pleads for his help. She introduces herself as Elaine and explains that she is 3 months pregnant. She recounts how, after looking at the light for the first time, her baby began to grow at an accelerated rate, and her husband, Jared, started to change. Over time, Jared developed a stronger immunity, but eventually, they were captured too. His brain was extracted and implanted into an alien machine, but he managed to retain some level of consciousness and saved her. As she finishes her story, Elaine gives birth to a baby girl and then dies. Trent and Audrey struggle desperately to escape from their chamber. They manage to swing back and forth, and Audrey grabs hold of a ledge. Meanwhile, Mark, holding the newborn, pleads with Jared to help save his son, promising to protect his daughter in return. The monstrous Jared agrees and instructs Mark to follow him. At the same time, the main alien leader watches them through a monitor and discovers Elaine's lifeless body. Mark, with the baby and Jared, heads toward the ship's main section. There, Jared tells Mark to insert his hand into a special device to receive an alien weapon. Though hesitant, Mark complies. As he examines the new weapon, Jared begins planting explosives around the ship to destroy it. Trent and Audrey manage to free themselves. As they consider their next move, they hear Sarge's voice. Jared shows Mark the ship's main cannon, which emits the blue light. He deactivates it, starts the ship, and prepares to leave. Mark urgently asks him to locate his son, and Jared initiates a search through the ship's compartments. He finds Trent in one of them and directs Mark and the baby to go there. Just then, the alien leader bursts into the main chamber. Mark manages to throw the baby into the chamber with Trent, Audrey, and Sarge. After placing the child on the floor, Mark rushes to help them. Meanwhile, the tentacles reawaken and begin extracting the brains of the remaining captives. Trent realizes Sarge isn't responding to their pleas and jumps onto his cable to create momentum. Trent succeeds, landing Sarge on a ledge, but a tentacle grabs Trent and extracts his brain. The next tentacle seizes Audrey, but Mark manages to save her just in time. At that moment, a fierce battle erupts between the alien leader and Jared. The leader ultimately triumphs. Seeing an open passage, he heads toward Mark's chamber. Mark struggles against the tentacles, shouting at Audrey to protect the baby. Suddenly, the alien leader appears before them. Hearing the baby girl cry, he approaches her, but Sarge intervenes, sacrificing himself to distract the monster. Audrey seizes the opportunity and grabs the child. In a final act of defiance, Jared detonates the explosives, causing the ship to crash in Laos. In a nearby village, a young couple witnesses the locals fighting off aliens. After a struggle with one of the villagers, the couple kills him and escapes, stumbling upon the wrecked alien ship. Mark, Audrey, and the now grown girl decide to escape the fallen vessel, carrying the injured Sarge with them. As they reach the edge of the ship, they see a river below and leap into the water. The alien leader regains consciousness and makes his way to the ship's main control room, where he activates the repair program to restore the vessel. Meanwhile, Kanye finds a strange orb on the shore and takes it with him. Upon reaching the shore, the group encounters a young man and woman and pleads with them not to shoot. Despite their efforts, Sarge succumbs to his injuries. The newcomers agree to help Audrey and Mark, instructing them to follow. On the alien ship, human brains are being implanted into robots. Trent's brain is inserted into one of them, and despite his efforts to resist and retain his consciousness, he fails. Audrey turns to Kanye, asking for a stop so she can change the baby. As Mark bends down to drink some water, Kanye notices his police badge. This sparks a fight between them, and Kanye also attacks Audrey. Their conflict is interrupted when an armed man appears on the horizon. The local police have turned to looting amidst the alien attacks, seizing everything, including women. Mark offers to help them in exchange for taking the girl to a doctor. The group sets out on their journey. At night, they stop to rest, and Mark shares details about the aliens with the brother and sister. He explains that there's only one alien on the ship, while the rest are enslaved and can be freed. Later, Audrey asks Mark about his wife, and he tells her about Rose. In the morning, Mark wakes up to the cold touch of a rifle barrel against his head. He is shot and taken prisoner by the young man. Audrey notices that the baby has grown even more overnight. The brother and sister bring their group to a Shiva temple. Inside, they meet Dr. Harper, who examines the baby and discovers that she is only 2 days old, despite appearing to be 3 years old. Dr. Harper conducts various blood tests on the child. Kanye arrives and hears his findings. Her DNA is unusually non-human. Kanye hands him the alien orb as a gift and leaves in haste. Bursting into the room with the baby, Kanye demands they leave immediately, revealing that she is an alien and extremely dangerous. However, Mark manages to convince the others that this child is the key to their salvation. After analyzing the results, Dr. Harper shares the news with the group. The baby has extremely thick cell walls, almost like armor, and her blood is extraordinarily unique. The bad news is that she is dying due to rapid growth, which is exhausting her entire system. A blood transfusion is necessary, but they don't have a suitable match at the base. Mark offers his own blood, noting that he had alien technology implanted in him, which might work. This proves effective, and the baby improves significantly, beginning to speak. Dr. Harper continues his research on the glowing orb. He discovers that it is a projectile used by the aliens to hypnotize people. Since it's not a virus, a vaccine is impossible to create. However, the substance is compatible with human DNA, which suggests that the aliens have been on Earth before or perhaps even brought humans here to cultivate them. They failed to account for human evolution. By mixing the girl's blood with this substance, it completely neutralizes the aliens' influence. This means the child's blood is an antidote. If they can fill one of the projectiles with her blood and detonate it on the ship, everyone could be freed. Meanwhile, the alien vessel is fully repaired, and the leader dispatches troops to search for the humans. Sua takes Mark and Audrey to the armory, where they gather weapons. He instructs Kanye to prepare the slope and take the woman with them. Dr. Harper creates the antidote using the child's blood, but there is only one dose available. The men plan to launch their attack at night. Meanwhile, the women plant explosives around the area. Unexpectedly, a bio-robot appears, and Kanye engages in battle. She lures the monster onto the minefield but steps on a mine herself. Sacrificing herself, she triggers the mine and dies along with the alien. Her brother and Dr. Harper watch the tragic event on the monitors. Audrey notices the approaching alien ship and urgently returns to the base. The militia prepares for battle, determined to fight to the last breath. Sua wants to eliminate all the bio-robots, but Mark persuades him that they can be saved. Reluctantly, Sua agrees and hands Mark the antidote syringe. Mark takes the child deeper into the temple, to the others who are unable to fight. The cameras show the huge aliens discovering the humans and advancing into the shelter. A fierce battle ensues. The humans fight off the monsters, but more and more of them keep coming. Sua decides to free the prisoners and arm them to fight together. Realizing their base has been compromised, the humans make their way outside. Mark manages to reach the alien ship after leaving the temple. He makes his way to the missile control room but is spotted by one of the bio-robots. Meanwhile, the ship fires another blue orb into the sky, which begins to glow. One of the men fires a grenade at it, causing the projectile to explode and the hypnotic light to vanish. However, the alien leader descends to the ground and attacks the militia. Meanwhile, Mark is attacked by an alien soldier, and a fierce fight ensues. During one of the blows, Mark's wedding ring falls off, and he reacts strangely to it. Realizing that the soldier is Trent, Mark struggles to regain control and eventually throws his son down to safety. Below, the humans battle enemy soldiers, rescuing the girl and Audrey. Harper sacrifices himself to distract the monster, allowing the others to escape. Mark manages to secure one of the projectiles and fills it with the antidote. He returns it to the weapon, and their plan works. Trent regains his consciousness, but the leader notices this and wrenches the weapon out of the ship. The humans fight off the aliens. Back with the militia, Mark implants alien technology into himself and rushes to help his friends. There are too many bio-robots, but the alien leader is focused on capturing the girl. Just then, reinforcements arrive. The revived Trent battles the leader. Mark hurries to his son's aid, while the others continue fighting the monsters. In the chaos, Audrey loses sight of the girl, who has made her way to the projectile with the antidote. She triggers it with her touch, drawing the leader's attention away. Trent seizes the opportunity and fires at the leader with the antidote-filled projectile. When it explodes, all the bio-robots regain their consciousness, and the leader dies. They have won the battle. Gathering together, Audrey suggests naming the girl Rose, and Mark agrees. 10 years later, the grown-up Rose has become the leader of the liberated biomechanical soldiers and humans. Under her command, the alien ship is now operational, with Trent as her deputy. They continue to fight against other alien ships that are based near the moon. How do you think humanity would respond if faced with a real extraterrestrial threat? Would we be able to unite and work together? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.